Welcome to this module on applying the spirit of motivational interviewing in your culturally competent practice. This module acknowledges the Nisconluth and Adams Lake bands, who worked in partnership with the IH community teams to share the learnings from a COPD outreach day and a learning circle with their elders. Cultural diversity refers to a cultural variety that exists in the world or society. Not all Aboriginal populations in the interior British Columbia share the same cultural beliefs that are presented in this module. With cultural diversity in mind, this module is a sample of what was learned. This module will explore what is cultural competency. What do we need to be mindful of in order to provide a culturally sensitive approach to healthcare? How can we use existing resources, such as the spirit of motivational interviewing, in cross-cultural situations? Let's explore some definitions that are key to understanding cultural competency, beginning with individual culture. Individual culture refers to customs, traditions, and ceremony that you identify and celebrate, either privately or in a larger setting. Cultural awareness is knowing that you have customs, traditions, and ceremonies that you celebrate and acknowledge. Cultural sensitivity refers to an appreciation that there are differences amongst cultures. Cultural knowledge refers to an understanding of the purpose and meaning of customs, traditions, and ceremonies that are celebrated. Cultural skills and interactions refers to an understanding of the interactions among members of a culture on their own terms. Cultural safety in action is the outcome of interactions where individuals experience their cultural identity and a way of being as being respected or at least not challenged or harmed. It is important to note that cultural competent healthcare force is measured by the cultural safety experienced by the patient. The patient assesses and determines if healthcare experience is culturally safe or not. What is the spirit of motivational interviewing, and how does it relate to cultural competency? Establishing a mutual respectful relationship between clients and clinician is key to positive health outcomes. The spirit of motivational interviewing, as described by Miller and Rolnick, provides a safe environment to promote a collaborative, respectful conversation. It is a way of talking and being with someone to support them. A collaborative conversation, never a lecture or monologue. The spirit of motivational interviewing is made up of 4 essential elements. This includes compassion, acceptance, partnership, and evocation. We can remember the elements of the spirit of motivational interviewing by the acronym CAPE. A cape is something we put over someone as a sign of respect, and it protects them from cold and foul weather. By using CAPE in the spirit of motivational interviewing, we are creating a safe space to be present and alongside a person. Compassion is the first element of CAPE. Caring can be described as compassion. Receiving compassionate care is linked to a greater satisfaction with care. Compassion is giving priority to other people's needs, acting within the best interest of the other person. All interactions are done from the heart to actively promote the other's welfare. Caring and compassion can overcome unconscious biases. Let's look at what's important in establishing a mutually respectful relationship. We will look at the importance of gift giving, being properly introduced, important components of a visit, and getting to know me as ways of building respectful relationships. Being properly introduced is key to establishing a mutually respectful relationship. Aboriginal people are storytellers. Consider introducing yourself with a small story. Tell about your ancestry, family relations, where you grew up, or how long you have lived in their traditional territory. Indirect eye contact from Aboriginal clients is sometimes a practiced habit. It may be the result of imposed rules from residential school or other experiences with colonization, such as the 60s scoop. Another important part of establishing a mutually respectful relationship is the components of a visit. Important components of a visit include repeat visits, storytelling, open-ended questions, and silences. As a clinician, you may be required to visit more than once to obtain medical history and to find out what is important for needs and goals of the patient. Aboriginal people are storytellers. Be prepared to get the meaning from a story. Direct questioning can be very intimidating. Consider using open-ended questions during your visit. Be comfortable with silences. It shows respect when allowing someone to speak and not speak over them. Getting to know me is also a very important component to establishing a mutually respectful relationship. It is the foundation to how most relationships between client and healthcare providers are established. Given the impact of colonization in residential schools, relationships is the basis for Aboriginal people in developing trust in healthcare practitioners. Understanding family relationships are also important, and knowing that small communities are often closely related play an important role in getting to know your client and their support system. Aboriginal health is holistic and inclusive of emotional, mental, spiritual, and physical health. Clinicians need to understand it's not just about physical health. The medicine wheel is an integral part of understanding Aboriginal healing. The medicine wheel represents the alignment and continuous interactions of the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual realities. The circle shape represents the interconnectedness of all aspects of one's being, including the connection with the natural world. Medicine wheels are frequently believed to be the circle of awareness of an individual, the circle of knowledge that provides the power we each have over our own lives. How can we take the information learned and apply it to our clinical practice? Take a moment to read through the patient-provider questions below and think how you might modify them to fit your practice. Self-reflecting on the information we have learned can help us develop further skills towards cultural competency. Take a minute to read through the 3 following questions and write down your answers to each. The second element of the Spirit of Motivational interviewing that is going to help us provide that collaborative, respectful conversation is acceptance. Acceptance includes 4 A's. They include accurate empathy, affirmation, absolute worth, and autonomy support. Accurate empathy refers to the ability to infer the thoughts and feelings of another person accurately. Affirmation refers to the action of declaring that something is true. Absolute worth is having unquestionable value. Autonomy support is self-directed freedom and moral independence. It is not our place to decide what is right for another person. We can help people make choices to better fit their goals, not our goals. Acceptance does not mean that you agree with the person. You are accepting their autonomy, not endorsing their behaviors or beliefs. Consideration for respecting autonomy will include thoughts on modern medical system and medicines used, including foods, the importance of the Creator, spirituality, Christianity, and traditional beliefs. Institutionalization of the medical system is often felt to be parallel to residential school experiences for some Aboriginals. Aboriginal persons have been known to have shorter hospital stays than non-Aboriginal persons. Blending of the two medical systems, traditional healing practices and Western modern medicine, is something we need to be aware of as clinicians. We need to remember that food is more than just calories. It's thought to be part of healing, cultural identity, and social connectiveness. Understanding the importance of the Creator is essential to providing cultural competent healthcare. There is only one Creator, although the stories of creation differ, always only one Creator. Each First Nation, their family, and their community have their own blending of traditional and Christianity beliefs. There is no predetermined or standard practice. Spirituality is not the same as traditional beliefs or Christianity. It is defined individually and can be about participating in organized religion, private prayer, meditation, quiet reflection, or whatever activity provides you with a sense of grounding. Respecting a person's self-directing freedom and moral independence is key to acceptance. Think about autonomy support as we explore traditional ceremonies and practices. Traditional ceremonies and practices will include the medicine wheel, the red road, medicine, winter dance and Sundance, powwows, traditional ways, and the importance of opening and closing with a drum song and a prayer. The medicine wheel is made up of 4 quadrants, which leads to well-being: physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental. The imbalance of one quadrant impacts overall well-being of a person. Individual wellness is also considered in context to immediate family, extended family, and community. The red road refers to the revitalization of cultural values, beliefs, and healing practices. It is reclaiming what was once banned, such as language, traditional ceremonies, and practices. The medicine winter dance and Sundance are examples of cultural gatherings. If asked, people are encouraged to attend such ceremonies. Powwows are an important gathering that reinforce family and community connections and are another example of cultural gatherings. These ceremonies exemplify cultural practices. Healthcare providers are again encouraged to attend a cultural event to increase their cultural competence. Smudging is an example of a traditional way. This is a practice used to cleanse a person, room, object, etc. Burning substances can vary from one nation to another, but the smoke has cleansing properties. For information on the IH smudging guidelines, please see the attached link. Practice of drum songs is a traditional welcome of persons visiting a traditional territory in a group gathering. An opening prayer signifies respect to the Creator and the ancestors to guide the event in a good way. In practice and home visits, an opening prayer and song are not necessary, but proper introductions are strongly suggested. When thinking about traditional ceremonies and practices, how will you use acceptance and autonomy support to provide a collaborative, safe environment? Think about the following patient-provider questions. How will you modify them to fit into your practice? Take a few minutes to self-reflect and write your answers down on the following 3 questions. Think about what role traditional ceremonies and practices have in developing who you are. Traditional approach: medicine, food, and knowledge. Traditional approach includes traditional medicines, traditional food and preparations, and end-of-life traditions. Aboriginal families have been living off the land for many generations. It's important to know what role traditional medicines play in your client's healthcare plan in order to provide holistic care. Some examples of traditional medicines used include honey, apple cider vinegar, and juniper tea. Food is more than calories. It is an important part of cultural identity. Sharing of meals is important to Aboriginal culture. It is often related to social gatherings, reinforcing social connectiveness and family ties. Some traditional foods include berries, wild game, birds, and asparagus. Take a few minutes to self-reflect and write your answers down to the following 3 questions on traditional medicines and foods. End-of-life care. This section will look at messaging and phrasing around end of life, communications about end of life, and end of life traditional practices. Death of a loved one is all about returning to the Creator, honoring and recognizing the life of all persons from stillborn to the passing of an elder is important for Aboriginal people. Aging is accepted as a return to childhood state where roles of a parent and child are reversed. Good communication is important in all levels of care. A sense of community and family connectiveness is important to Aboriginal persons, and therefore a community will surround and support a family that is someone at the end stage of life. Sometimes one person will present themselves as a speaker of the family. Each First Nation, their community, and their family will have their own defined practices around embalming and cremation. Some practices will be more traditional, while others will be a blend of Christian-based and other burial practices. Take a few minutes to think about the following patient-provider end-of-life questions. Take a few minutes to self-reflect on the following 3 questions. What are your roles and traditions around end-of-life care? As we look back to the elements of the Spirit of Motivational Interviewing, we now have a better understanding about how compassion and acceptance are important in cultural competency. Partnership is the 3rd element of the Spirit of Motivational Interviewing and is very important as every person is an expert about themselves. Partnership is an active collaboration between experts, remembering that a person is an expert about themselves. We need to provide a culturally sensitive approach that is for or with a person, not to a person. Considerations for a respectful partnership include moving forward, changing society and landscape, return to the red road, and seeking information. Moving forward, the field of pharmacogenetics may play an important part of healthcare planning. Looking at genetics and inheritance factors, in combination with certain environmental factors, puts populations at risk for health effects. Partnership must take into account changing society and landscape. The overall demographics of Aboriginal peoples are younger than that of non-Aboriginal communities. Priorities must be different to meet the younger population's needs. More Aboriginal people are living off-reserve than on-reserve, creating a change in service utilization patterns and integration into larger city centres. Growth and operation of the First Nation Health Authority is influencing the provincial health landscape in engagement and consultation on health-related strategies and priorities. Policy structures need to align with the First Nation Health Authority to ensure that gaps in services are closed and that health priorities are properly addressed. Positive benefits of strong cultural identity is improving health outcomes in all age groups, as many Aboriginal communities return to the red road. There is a resurgence of Aboriginal culture in teachings, medicine, language, and protocols. Elders are identified as the keeper of the knowledge. Aboriginal people are wanting more information on medical conditions, options for care, identified risk factors, health service and programs, and information and education sessions. Think about how the following patient-provider questions on partnership may fit into your current practice. Reflect on the following questions about partnership. What are your health priorities? What do you do for personal wellness? Where and how do you access information to guide your health and practice? Where and who are your advisors and mentors? How did they earn your trust? The fourth and last component of the Spirit of Motivational interviewing is evocation. Evocation finishes our acronym CAPE. Evocation is calling forth on a person's strengths and resources for change. It's important to realize the ideas come from the person. Most adults do not like to be told what to do, and resistance is an automatic reaction. The sacredness of knowledge must be respected. Some knowledge can be shared, while some knowledge is retained for its sacredness by being private. This is important to realize when we're calling forth on a person's strength and resources for change. Inner strength and sharing is an important part of evocation. Each person has a unique interpretation of cultural practices. Inner strength involves building resilience and reducing vulnerability. Using tools such as the elements in the Spirit of Motivational interviewing, compassion, acceptance, partnership, and evocation, we can provide a culturally sensitive approach to healthcare and promote cultural identity. Cultural identity is the holistic combination of national, political, cultural, religious, and family factors which shapes one's identity. Promoting cultural identity is health promotion.